The My Forward University podcast, episode 18. Today we're going to do a case study. We're going to focus on planned obsolescence, and we're going to use a lot of the tools that we use and explain on the myforwarduniversity.com website. All right, folks, let's get into it. I call this coincidences, conveniences, contrivances, collusion, and conspiracies. This is effectively a thinking person's guide to patterns that you're not supposed to notice. All right, welcome back. George Sloan, myforwarduniversity.com. We're going to go over a number of things for you. It's going to be a little bit different, as I mentioned. We're going to make you think. It might make you even squirm, because I think you're going to have a few eye-openers here. It's definitely going to make you look at the world a little differently with sharper eyes. Now, let me make it clear up front. I don't believe in conspiracy theories, but I do believe in pattern recognition. And sometimes conspiracy theories are grounded in fact, and they do come true. But I always like to look at things more objectively. So we're going to talk a lot about pattern recognition. I do believe in aligning incentives, and I absolutely believe that when you see the same outcomes over and over across different industries, it is definitely worth asking the two questions I'm about to give you. One, is this just a coincidence? Or is it something else entirely? Sometimes things are by design, folks. When we get through with this, I think you're going to see it. Today, I want to walk you through a mental model that I've been developing for a while and using for years now. And I call it basically the 5 C's. Coincidences, conveniences, contrivances, collusion, and conspiracies. It's not about panic, it's about perception. It's not about fear, it's about frameworks. Again, we're going to use a lot of the thinking models on this one. And it might just change the way you look at systems around you. From appliances to automobiles to freedom itself is being reframed. Okay? So let's get into it. This is going to be a little longer than my usual. So the 5 C's framework. Let me explain it first, give you a little more detail so that you get a better understanding and we get into a similar mindset as we go through this stuff. Number 1, coincidence. Sometimes things just happen, but when it happens, or when it just happens all the time, repeatedly, at scale, and across multiple industries or domains, we owe it to ourselves to ask, is it more than just a random chance? Okay? 2, convenience. Cui bono? That's Latin. Who benefits from this being easier? Who gains by calling it progress? 3, contrivance. Does it feel like it's engineered, designed to produce a certain outcome while appearing natural? A lot of things are done by design these days, folks. 4, collusion. Are there unspoken alliances between parties who stand to benefit, even if they never sit in the same room? 5, conspiracy. A word we throw around way too easy today. But what if occasionally it's the most rational explanation, especially when nothing else adds up? What's the old Sherlock Holmes expression? Oh boy, what is it? When we've ruled out the probable, whatever remains, no matter how impossible it seems, has got to be the answer. Think about that one. So let's start with, well, again, no paranoia here. Let's just think and start asking the right questions. So let's start with something simple. Home appliances. Now, some of you may know where I'm going with this already. So let's get into our case study here for a second. I call this the death of durability. How long did your grandmother's refrigerator last? Think about that one. It may not have been in style, but I'm willing to bet you it lasted 20, maybe 30 years. It worked. How about her washer and dryer? How about her oven? Compare that to today. You buy a shiny new fridge, stainless steel, digital controls, maybe a smart screen, and in 7 years it dies. It's no longer cost effective to repair. In fact, some of them don't even let you repair them. There's a whole thing on, the right to repair in a number of areas, or they make the spare parts ridiculously expensive. Many parts are proprietary. The control board is fried. And what do you do? What do you do? More than likely, you're going to hear, "Oh, you should just replace it. Too expensive to fix." So let's ask why. Why did it fail? The electronics. Why are the repairs so expensive? Custom parts. Why not make it durable? Here's the big one. I'm going to drop the bomb. Because repeat purchases are more profitable. I've had this conversation with many of my colleagues, and I say to them all the time, it's as if they want to compress the buying cycle. Home appliances used to be called white goods because they were usually, like a ceramic coated or white paint. And they would last for 20 or 30 years. Well, that's great when you are first starting to sell them, but once the market matures, you don't have as many new buyers coming in. So what do you need to do? You need to go back to the old ones. So if you can compress the life cycle of it, you can compress the sales cycle. Think about that one for a second. So now let's zoom out. What do you call a system designed for premature failure? And here's the term of the day: planned obsolescence. This isn't a new concept, it's been documented. And when you apply root cause analysis, you see it everywhere. It's not a bug in the system, it is the system. Everyone wins except you, the consumer. Think about that for a sec. By the way, it's not just appliances. We're going to talk about some other things. So let's use some systems thinking and the feedback loop. We're going to expand our lens using the systems thinking approach we've covered in another podcast, and it's also up on the website in full-blown article, myforduniversity.com /blog. What are the actors in the system surrounding appliances? Well, there's manufacturers, there's retailers, there's energy regulators, there's policymakers, there's smart tech companies, and then there's you, the end user, the consumer, who lays out their hard-earned cash, and everyone up that chain there gets paid. So now, watch how the incentives align. I've kind of hinted at this. Energy mandates means, we need to have more electronics. More electronics means, we have more failures. More failures mean more sales. More sales mean more profit for everyone in that chain but you. Add software into the mix, and now you have update cycles, diagnostics, and behavioral data that they're collecting from you. That's part of why TVs are so inexpensive now, because they're basically subsidizing it because they want your viewing behavior. Effectively, this system becomes self-reinforcing, folks. Add in environmental language like energy efficiency, and now you can push consumers into shorter buying cycles while sounding virtuous. That's not a conspiracy. That's a well-oiled machine. I know a lot of you have seen this or noticed it. And if you haven't, now that I've mentioned it to you, you will. All right, so now we're going to go and take it a step further. We're going to explore cars and the push towards electric vehicles and how they're reshaping freedom, ownership, and control. Would you like me to continue? You betcha. All right. The automobile. Let's talk about cars. I actually kind of like fixing my own. There's been a push to make it more and more difficult for folks to work on their own vehicles, and it's all part of this approach to planned obsolescence. All right. For a long time, owning a car in America was one of the greatest symbols of personal freedom. You could go anywhere. Go where you want, when you want, without asking permission, no ticket needed, no tracking, no shared transport. But we all know that's changing fast. They're pushing everyone into cities because they want them to use mass transit, which is not that effective and efficient. So you ask yourself, are cars getting better or are they just getting newer? Modern vehicles are now filled with electronics, and many of the electronics are tied together. So if one part of it fails, the whole thing fails. The software in many cases is locked. It's nearly impossible for the average person to repair this vehicle, and it's designed with components that just fail just outside of the warranty window. I'm sure many of you experienced that. So let's not forget the price either. The average new car price in the U.S. crossed $47,000 recently. Used cars are now what new cars used to be, and the financing terms up to 84 months, and I hear they're even going further out than that. So now let's add EVs, or electric vehicles, into the equation. And on the surface, EVs are cleaner, they're quieter, and they're quote-unquote greener. There are people who would argue that point. But peel back a layer and you're going to find out there's something else going on. EVs have limited range, so there's fewer road trips, more local control. Charging infrastructure is still fragmented, not fully built out. They're heavy in software dependent. I mean, some people even describe them as rolling iPhones. That's a joke that I've heard. Updates and features can be added or removed remotely. So do you own the car or does someone else own the car if they can take away features? Your driving data is being collected constantly because, again, data and information. They want to know who you are, where you go, what you do. And most repairs, only the manufacturer or their partners can do it because they're proprietary parts, proprietary tools. Many things have to be replaced as a full component, not an individual part. That a dollar part might be the problem, but you got to put $150 component in to replace it. It's just getting out of hand. So ownership is giving way to access. The car you're buying is more like a rolling iPhone, as I mentioned, and it's leased software. It's not owned freedom. Let's use inversion thinking for a second. The question they don't want you to ask. Let's flip the script and use the inversion. Ready? If I wanted to shorten product life cycles, increase revenue, and push EV adoption, okay? I also wanted to reduce private mobility, and I wanted to collect more and more behavioral data. What would I do? I think a lot of you know the answer. Well, I'd make the internal combustion engine seem outdated. I'd restrict repair access. I'd incentivize EVs with tax credits. Sound familiar? I'd remove gas-powered options through regulation. I'd control charging networks. And I'd use green messaging to silence my critics. I would also do things to take those other cars off the road. I mean, years ago there was something called cash for clunkers, and it basically shrunk the supply of the used car market by giving people cash incentives to destroy, still functioning like gas-powered cars. So you ask yourself, is this already happening? You betcha. They're doing it quietly, they're doing it strategically, and without having to ban anything outright. So that's what makes it a contrivance, not a conspiracy. It's a structured manipulation through market mechanics and narrative alignment. All you got to do is go on YouTube and watch a couple of these mechanics that talk about how they've been working on cars for 20, 30, 40 years and saying that these new cars are junk, they're designed to fail, and they're putting almost brand new cars into the junkyard because it's not cost effective to fix them. They want you to go buy another one. The mechanics are not happy about it either because it hurts their businesses. All right, who benefits? Cui bono. In Latin, I mentioned before, there's a term called cui bono, and it means who benefits. So let's take a run through it. Ready to continue? Okay, here we go. Who benefits from compressed buying cycles? Increased software control, ownership that looks like leasing, and data collection from your car, your fridge, and your home. Why, I think you know the answer. I'll give you a second to think about it. Okay, there we go. Automakers, software vendors, government regulators, environmental policy groups, and subscription-based business models. Hmm. You know who doesn't benefit from it? You, the consumer. You're the person who's paying more, fixing it less, and owning very little. All right, let's think in terms of frameworks for a second to make sense of all this. So, how do you avoid getting swept up or misled? You got to use your brain strategically. Here are the key tools that I use. I use root cause analysis. We've talked about that on myforduniversity.com. You got to ask why until you hit bedrock. 5 whys. Remember that one? You need to use systems thinking. You want to zoom out, see how the policies, incentives, and actors interact. You want to use inversion. You want to flip the problem. Ask, what would I do if I wanted this particular outcome? You want to use first principles thinking. Don't accept the assumptions. Ask what must be true. You want to use creative thinking. Make some lateral connections that others miss. You want to use strategic thinking. Analyze not just what is happening, but why it happens and who gains. When you start looking like that, you can kind of start putting the dots together. I mean, you can start seeing where this is going. So let's go and look at, some other domains just to make sure that we're not just talking about appliances and autos for a second. Smartphones. I'm sure everyone knows about this one, but let's go over it and make sure that everyone's clear on what's happening. Every year, there's a new version. And of course, repairs are discouraged and locked down. Again, there's a movement called Right to Repair. You might want to Google it. The batteries are sealed. Updates slow down older phones. I sometimes feel like just before you're getting to the point where it's time to re-up your phone, they start to throttle you and slow things down on you to make you feel like you need a new phone. I highly recommend you go and check out your battery's health. It's in your phone. You can check it. Okay. There's also constant surveillance. The damn phones listen to us. I'm sure you know that. There is a way I've heard that you can turn it off, but they are listening to you. And then, of course, there's feature creep, things that we don't ask for, but they keep throwing at us. And in almost every way, it's another way to track and learn more about you as a consumer so they can sell it, and then people can market to you. All right, how about smart home devices? Excuse me. These conveniences become dependent. I'm sure a lot of you have Alexa. Some of these devices fail if the cloud services go down. And you can't fully control what you own. How about streaming platforms? Subscriptions climb, content disappears or rotates out. Excuse me. You don't own your movies, you rent them, you rent access to them. A lot of people are starting to go back and buy old DVDs because they want to be able to have it at their beck and call. And they monitor what you watch, when you watch, and how long you watch. Again, I mentioned before, TVs are kind of cheap these days in the scheme of things. But the reason for that is they want your data. Your ongoing data is more important than the one-time purchase of the TV. It's almost like the razor blade example. Even thermostats and garage doors now track your patterns. Coincidence? Maybe. But maybe it's a systematic contrivance, aligned with incentives converging across these domains. Notice how everything you have to sign in, or they want you to take a picture of the QR code so they can draw information from different sources. Think about that. So I want you to now apply everything we've talked about, and I want you to think about what's the root cause. Convenience gets monetized. What's the system? User dependency replaces user empowerment. Inversion. If you want to control and repeat revenue, this is how you would do it, folks. It's no mystery. All right. So let's get back to consumer versus the system. The core conflict here. Consumers want durability, they want ownership, and they want privacy, independence, and they want, most of all, value. I always think in terms of value when I spend money. I'm asking myself, am I going to get fair value out of this, or am I getting ripped off in some way? Or am I paying for it in other ways that I don't even realize at the moment? Systems, on the other hand, they want subscription revenue, an ongoing draw out of your account every month. They want shorter cycles. They want the user to be dependent on them. You get too comfortable, it's too convenient, it's hard to give it up. It's like the drug dealer model. They give free samples to get you addicted. Not a good thing. They want your data, and they want control over you. They can decide what you get, when you get it, or if you get it at all. That's not speculation, folks. That's reality. All you got to do is think about it, look at it. And of course, most of it isn't illegal. It's just aligned. Maybe we should all start reading the terms and conditions more when we sign up for things. The problem is the consumer is still playing by the old rules. They're still expecting things to be the way they used to be. And the problem is the game has entirely changed, and it's changed in favor of the house. And the house in this case is not the consumer. It's this whole system designed to funnel products and services through, and to their benefit, not the benefit of the end user. So we used to buy things and own it, and now we rent, we stream, we subscribe, and we swipe. But there is a catch. If you never question it, you'll never notice it. And if you never notice it, you're not going to fight it. It's very devious and deceitful sometimes. It operates in the shadows. But if you start to open your eyes and look for it, you'll see it. So, I guess getting to the end here. What do we do? Here's where thinking becomes action. What can we do with this knowledge? First, you want to be more intentional with your purchases. You want to ask, will it last? Can I fix it? Do I own it, or do I lease access to it? And the lines on that is getting blurred, folks. Second, support the right to repair and other open platforms. The more control you have, the less control they have. It should be a partnership, but it's really not these days. Third, you want to practice high agency thinking. You want to question the timing. You want to look at the incentives. You want to follow the money. You want to use the 5 C's lens that we just described. You want to avoid assuming, I hate that one. Instead, you want to suspect, test, and conclude. Or as I say in my NASIC model, no assumptions, suspect, investigate, and conclude. Investigate and testing, pretty much the same thing. Finally, you want to share your thinking, folks. You want to have other people wake up to it and see that this is not a conspiracy, but rather a pattern. And it's a pattern designed to your detriment as a consumer. Hope this helped you out. I want to go and give you some final thoughts on this one. We're going to recap. You're not crazy for noticing things seem to break sooner. You're also not paranoid for wondering why nothing is fixable. And you're not alone in feeling that the system doesn't serve you anymore. And you're not powerless. You have to be a thinker, and you have to really use some judgment with your wallet. So the tools that we've explored, root cause analysis, systems thinking, inversion, first principles thinking, they are your intellectual armor. They protect you from laziness, from propaganda, and from manipulation disguised as quote-unquote modern convenience. So the next time you're feeling that something fails too soon, or it feels too convenient, or it seems like it benefits everyone except you, stop and think. Because quite frankly, you're probably onto something. Trace the pattern and ask, who benefits? Remember, cui bono. Then go a step further. Ask, what am I going to do about it? Because that's where the real agency begins. Think about making careful purchases. Think about making purchases that are more mindful when you make them. And don't get sucked in to the convenience factor if you can avoid it. I want to thank all of you for joining me. I want you to keep on thinking. I hope you enjoyed this case study and you're going to do some more questioning of things around you. And I want you to pull back the curtain one layer at a time. Things aren't always what they appear to be. I tell my wife that all the time. So until next time, I'm George Sloan. Please visit myforduniversity.com. You're going to see a bunch of resources there. If you're not familiar with some of these thinking processes, there are full articles that are up. You can also check it out on the podcast. And at some point, there's more and more of the videos going up on YouTube. We hope to see you on all of these platforms. Until next time, learn it fast and apply it faster. Thank you.